All righty, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports. This episode, we're going to be covering recruiting, some recent visitors, a transfer that's entering the portal from Alabama, and a few visitors that are coming this weekend. So a kind of a recap of last weekend and a preview to this weekend and some implications of a recent transfer portal entrance. So before we get into it, we just want to say we really appreciate it. We did cross over that 3,800 subscriber mark. I asked you guys to do it and you did it. We appreciate it, but we've got a goal. We're trying to get to 4,000 by the spring game. And I know it's aggressive. It's a couple weeks away, and we're a little less than 200 subscribers away. But if you hadn't already, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell. Over half of you do not subscribe to us, and I mean we appreciate you watching, but just take that next step and just subscribe to us. It really helps us. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and like us on Facebook. And if you do all that, we have some tickets that you could win. So, what you need to do is you need to do that. Turn on the notification bell. That makes a big difference because most of the time we're posting 3 days a week at 9:30 in the morning Central Time. But sometimes we mix some things up and you need to stay up to date. So hit the notification bell, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and then comment that you've done it. And obviously follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook, comment that you've done it. And then stick around for Brandon's in a video challenge. As you can tell, it's Boise lunch, so it's going to be an interesting one. It's definitely not football related, but we'll announce the winner on Monday the 18th, I believe it is. So it's about a week and a half away, and we have not heard from Blake Carpenter to this point as we're recording this. So he has until next Sunday evening to email us to claim his tickets. If they're not claimed, we will give those away to other people. So you guys might be hoping that Blake doesn't email us. We'll see what happens. We'll update you for Friday's podcast if they're still unclaimed. Or if you know Blake, you might send him a text message to let him know that he won. So anyway, we'll get into it. Some big recent visitors, 3 of them this past weekend or like the end of last week. The first one is Phil Picciotti. I don't know why I'm struggling. Phil Picciotti, 6'3", 225-pound linebacker from Picciotti, Pennsylvania, 2023 4-star, number 349 overall, and number 29 linebacker in the class. As a junior, he was a tackling machine, 144 tackles, and had 19 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles. And he also rushed for 250 yards and scored 4 touchdowns. As his junior year, that's a pretty solid stat line for a guy like him. He's visited OU. That was his second visit. He visited once with the previous staff, and this is his first one with the new staff. Basically, he got to watch a practice, hung out with the, Venables and some of the defensive linebackers. Really enjoyed it. Is really buying into the whole culture that Venables is building, and plans on taking an official visit for, as much as Brandon hates to call it, Champ U Barbecue in the beginning of June. He's planning to come back for that, so that'll be his third visit. As a linebacker, I don't know why you wouldn't want to come play for Venables, and I feel a lot better about him with this new staff. Jose, what do you think about his recent visit? It sounded like it went really well.
Yeah. I think he's a guy that we're kind of behind on, kind of like we are with some of the prospects in the 23 class. But I mean, right now he's crystal ball to Penn State, right? And it seems like that would be kind of the fade or just overall favorite, and probably a pretty hard school to beat at this point. He's probably pretty close there. I'm not sure exactly how far he lives from Penn State, but it being kind of a hometown school potentially. Who knows if he grew up being a fan of the Lions. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably, it depends on the kid, right? If they want to be near home, that seems like it's kind of just impossible to beat someone out because we clearly can't make ourselves closer to his hometown. But if you want to play for one of the best linebacker coaches, and I think you're right, it's kind of hard to say no to Coach Venables. It's just going to have to be what he prioritizes at that point at the end.
Yeah, I think, Penn State does have that home field advantage, the home state advantage. And, it's known as linebacker U, so it will be a tough swing. They've got guys like Micah Parsons, Paul Posluszny played there. The list is long. For some reason, only two are coming to mind right now, but a lot of big name NFL linebackers played at Penn State. So they obviously know how to develop the position. It's going to be tough to swing. But yeah, it's good to see the visit went well. Brent Venables is going to be working his magic, as Brian mentioned, and as the stats indicate, 144 tackles and 19 for loss. The dude's a tackling machine. And I think with his rushing stats, with it being only 250 yards and like 4 touchdowns, it seems like he's short distance, maybe a goal line or a third or fourth and short down back, and kind of just the physical area. He's probably a very physical football player. He's got great size. I think he's 6'3", 225, and physical. Just his tackling stats and his rushing numbers would indicate that he's in the trenches on the short distance situations, making stuff happen. So, hopefully Oklahoma is able to sway him a little bit and maybe get him to lean towards us instead of Penn State. But I think it's a tall task.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's going to be tough to get him away. Jose, I was curious how far it is. It's about 3 hours away from where he's from and to Penn State. So it's a pretty, it's a sizable distance, but that's nothing that his family couldn't travel in one day for a game. I mean, he has offers from Michigan, Auburn, obviously Penn State, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Purdue. I mean, it goes on, and even USC, because remember, the old staff hired him. So, I think he released his top 12 schools, included schools that like USC's on there, Penn State's on there, Oklahoma's on there, and I believe Michigan is too. And there's 8 other, obviously. But it's going to be interesting to see. You get him on campus again for the Champ U barbecue for a third time. He'll use an official. I wonder, I don't know for sure. I would imagine his timeline is probably this end of this summer. If he's planning to take an official to OU, I would imagine he's going to use his officials elsewhere during the summer and might make a decision before his senior season. If not, maybe OU will be able to get him on campus for a 4th time. If they do, and he's not committed for a 4th time this fall, I'd feel really good about him. But I feel like it's a little bit of a tall task, but something we're definitely going to be watching.
And according to 24/7 right now, the 3 leading schools are Michigan State, Oklahoma, and Penn State. So maybe those 3 or those 12 schools that you brought up, I mean, like you said, USC is in the mix and others, but it seems like he might have, or maybe he's been communicating that those 3 are showing that there's priority. And if he ever drops a smaller list, which would probably be good for him, just so, I mean, I think those lists at the end of the day give these kids some sort of clout with the fan bases. So probably good to drop another like top 6 or something so that more OU fans can get to know him.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. So another couple of recent visitors that happened this weekend, their brothers, Peyton and Eli Bowen, came up, both from Denton, Texas, both play for Geyer, teammates with Jackson Arnold. Peyton, he's about 6 foot tall, 185 pound safety, and he's in the 2023 class, 4-star, number 62 overall. He's the number 4 safety in the class. Eli Bowen, 5'9", 160 pound corner, from the same school. He's in the 2024 class. He's currently unranked by 247, but he's ranked as a 4-star on Rivals. I mean, he has offers from OU that he just earned this weekend, LSU, Notre Dame. So it's not a lack of talent. According to 247, they just have not updated him quite yet. And he picked up an offer. Peyton Bowen's currently committed to Notre Dame. I feel like, this is his second visit. One of his really close friends is on campus is committed to Oklahoma. And I feel like him coming back, his brother getting an offer, and if he comes back for a 3rd or a 4th visit, I really feel like OU, as long as they're keeping that line of communication, Brandon Hall is going to keep working these kids. And I think I want to say that they're going to flip. I mean, with how close they are, Jackson Arnold being here, now his brother's offered, because Notre Dame already offered Eli. So now that he was on campus, got the offer from Venables, I feel like you might see Peyton maybe this summer. Maybe he's a Champ U barbecue kind of guy that comes up and ends up flipping. I don't know. That might be a hot take. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, with Peyton Bowen, it goes back to the whole he's clearly not happily married with Notre Dame. Because if he were happily married with Notre Dame, he's not going to see Oklahoma as frequently as he is. And with Peyton Bowen, again, I think just looking at his numbers and his size, you mentioned the 6 feet 185. We just came out with our safety breakdown video. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. But I think Peyton Bowen is the guy that immediately when he gets on campus in that 23 class could be a guy that could compete for one of those starting spots. If you look at just with his numbers and his size and speed, the dude had 12 pass breakups and 6 picks last year at his safety spot, which clearly shows either the quarterbacks he's playing against suck, which I don't think that's the case. Playing in that 6A Texas football, I think the dude he's very instinctual and he reads the quarterback's eyes well and he can clearly break on it. I think he's a guy who can immediately push for playing time if he were to decide to flip to Oklahoma. And I'm kind of going to agree with you, Brown, just because, I mean, he's flirting so much with Oklahoma. And with Jackson Arnold there, and Eli getting an offer too, I tend to agree with you that I feel like at this point it's just a matter of time before he does make the flip. If I were a Notre Dame fan, I would not be feeling quite confident about either Bowen's recruitment process at this point. We just lost out on a pair of brothers in the Overtons to A&M. Maybe it's time for us to land a pair of brothers.
Yeah. I think it's all going to come down to how good Jackson Arnold can recruit him over this next summer. It might even honestly go into the fall. And, they have high school football probably starts in like August or the actual season. I'm sure they're doing training throughout the summer like every other high school in the country. So but we kind of have to rely on that, hoping that they visit Oklahoma a few times together. I think, at the end of the day, you guys, I think, are right in the fact that, he is starting to look at Oklahoma more seriously now that now that his brother is offered probably helps a lot more. But I think that the recruiting process, while, us as like outsiders kind of have this, and fans, we have this feeling like once you commit to us, you should be fully committed. Like, don't be, like you guys said, don't be flirting with other schools. This process is clearly a lot harder than that, even though it should be that simple to us. Like, they're at the end of the day, 16, 17-year-old kids making a decision that is going to potentially affect the next 4 years, and the transfer portal helps, but we'd rather not see that many kids in the transfer portal if they come to our school. So, I mean, Notre Dame should definitely be worried, but I think they still have a decent lead with us, especially after putting a safety in the NFL draft this year, potentially a top 5 pick. And Oklahoma hasn't produced a safety like that in quite a while.
Valerian Turner-Yell's going to get drafted. I mean, he's not going to be a top 5 pick, but he's going to get drafted.
I mean, we've sent defensive back talent, but who's
Trey Norwood had a hell of a year for Pittsburgh at the safety spot,
Yeah, but who's
we got some dogs out there.
When's the last time we had a Kyle Hamilton like safety? Even close to him. Maybe Tony Jefferson?
Trey Norwood's just as good. Kyle Hamilton can suck me.
I'm not saying they're not good, but they're not top 5 picks. They're not even first round picks. And as fans, we can say, well, teams missed out, but you have to have that kind of hype, and that kind of coaching is going to help. So I still think Notre Dame's got a lead, but Oklahoma's definitely should be putting some serious fear into the Notre Dame staff with how they're recruiting Bowen.
Yeah. Maybe he's not a Champ U barbecue kind of flip guy. Maybe he's going to wait to see what happens this fall. If he sees, through the first 4, 5, 6 games that OU plays and that defense is playing well, like we expect it to, he might feel more comfortable. And especially if Notre Dame struggles a little bit next year, it might be a little more tempting at that point. If Notre Dame drops a game or two and OU is rolling and that defense looks good, he's like, okay, Venables has got this thing going. It's rolling. My brother's going to come with me. I got one of my good friends as the future quarterback. Why not go? It might be one of those deals where he stays committed to Notre Dame until the fall. I don't know, but if he starts coming up, I'm hoping he comes on campus for the spring game. I have no idea if he's going to, but maybe we can get him and his brother on campus for a third time. I think that'd be huge.
If he goes into the summer and decommits from Notre Dame like early on before the barbecue event that we're gonna have, I think that would be like super reassuring. Like Oklahoma might as well have like whatever next official visit he takes, it'll be his time to commit to the staff and then an announcement to come after. But unless he decommits, I would. He just doesn't seem like a guy that'll go like immediately decommit and move on to the next school. Especially with Venables, he'll need a decommit from one before he's completely inviting of the player.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably give it a percentage that Notre Dame, the likelihood of him ending up, with the Irish, I'd say it's 55%. I do say, he's got the commitment still. He could decommit at any time, but he hasn't. And because of that, they have a slight lead. But I do think time will be in favor of the Sooners. So something to watch and something to definitely keep our eyes on, and we'll be following as it progresses. So another guy that, had a ton of hype coming out of high school and has been in the news today as we're recording this Tuesday evening is Agi Hall. He's 6'3", 195-pound wide receiver. He's originally from Valrico, Florida. 2021 4-star, number 45 overall, and number 5 receiver in the class. I remember, I'm going way back in the memory bank. This was before we did this podcast, but I've been following recruiting for a long time, and Hall and Mario Williams were really good friends at one point, I believe. I might be mistaken that, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty good friends. They were once thought as a package deal, and OU was leading for both of them. Obviously, it ended up landing Mario Williams. Something broke down with Hall, and he saw himself going to the Crimson Tide, and that's what ended up happening. But so OU's been on his radar for a long time, obviously with the previous staff. Today it came out that he's been removed from the Alabama roster. It looks like he has decided to enter the transfer portal. I know he tweeted that. That's news to me. I think it's one of those deals. He was floating around the idea of entering the transfer portal, hasn't done it yet, and he told Nick Saban about it. And Saban probably just said, all right, you're off. I mean, you're going. And, so he didn't make his official decision, but at this point, he's going to have to. It's coming down. Really, he has interest in 3 schools. It's OU, Florida, and USC. OU because of the history with the relationship and just the program. Florida basically being the hometown school. USC with the previous OU coaching staff. They've got that connection. The big question with OU and Hall is going to be whether or not OU is going to be willing to take him. It's going to be one of those deals where he might be viewed as not a good fit for the culture that Venables is building. If you look at his Twitter over the last 3 or 4 months, he's been putting out cryptic tweets about the Alabama football program. Basically expressing that he's not happy for whatever reason. I don't know what's happened behind the scenes. And so he's coming with a little bit of baggage. He played in 3 games last year. He had to play against Georgia in the championship game because Jamison Williams tore his ACL, and he caught 2 passes, I think, for 52 yards. In total last year as a true freshman, he caught 4 passes for 72. So I believe he still maintains his red shirt. Or he maintained his red shirt last season. So it's going to really come down to whether Venables and OU staff will take him. He's interested. Jose, what do you think the odds are? I mean, he would, not talking about off the field, I mean, he's a terrific talent, a lot of potential, and he would add a whole different dimension to this receiver room, with him and Jaden Gibson being on the taller side.
I mean, he would definitely be helpful. I think whatever's happening that he got kicked off the Alabama program is going to be a big red flag for Venables with his, one of the biggest things he talks about with recruiting and just his overall program, how he views what he's building is it's all about character and who you are as a person before who you are as a football player. So if he digs to it, they dig into it and find that it really wasn't anything that crazy, and then maybe it was just a difference in vision, which still might be an issue, but not something they can't overcome, then they might take him. I just see him probably going to Florida or USC. The only reason USC might not take him is because their wide receiver room is starting to build. They just had a couple of transfers come in to try to rebuild their wide receiver room. I don't know where Florida is in their wide receivers room situation, but I know we could use them for sure. I think after this year, we won't have Mims more than likely. We'll have Jalil Farouk. We won't have Weiss, or maybe we might have Weiss, just depending on the kind of year he has. We won't have Stoops. We'll have Kojak.
Cody Jackson, Farouk, Jaden Gibson. There's going to be a handful, but they need to get a few more people. What, Nicholas Anderson, I believe, will be there too.
Anderson. I mean, that's not very many, right? Not that we can name, and I'm sure we're forgetting a couple. So that's where he would.
Gavin Freeman.
Yeah, that's where. Well, then we have some preferred walk-ons, but there's a depth that's going to be missing after this year for the wide receivers. So that's the only reason I could see him or Oklahoma really accepting him, no matter what the problem was.
Did we mention Ashton Kozar too?
No. Just because I was thinking of this year's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna feel you, but he's, as far as it's always good to be in the running for the 45 overall player in his class, number 5 receiver in his class. But I agree. I think whatever happened to Alabama, just the way that Brent Venables seems to be running his ship, is going to be a turnoff, and I don't know that Oklahoma really tries too hard to get him, to be honest. As good as it would be to have him. I mean, any really talented receiver, it would be awesome to have. And like we talked about before we started recording, I kind of think he's going to go that USC route and play there with those idiots.
Yeah, I mean, and if he's still friends, and if my memory's right with Williams, obviously Mario Williams is there. He'd be a perfect cultural fit for USC, Florida. I mean, at the end of the day, some programs are just willing to put winning first.
What is the culture that USC is building?
Win,
you said a perfect
no matter
culture
what.
Fit. What USC's culture is win no matter what?
It doesn't matter what the baggage is coming with. It doesn't matter.
I think USC's culture is suck.
Well,
so maybe suck. I don't know. I just think they're so soft. I hate everything they do. Obviously, I'm sure you guys saw the video of TBOW hitting up downs or whatever, and Caleb. That's just so stupid. And then somebody posted, I saw it on Twitter somehow, but they're giving out decals on their helmets, like a helmet decal to the hardest worker of the week. That's something that they're implementing this year, and the USC people are talking about how neat it is. And the first thing I thought about, I was like, I guarantee you every single starter on that team has one by the time that summer ball even rolls around. By the time they finish spring, everybody on the team is going to have one because they all work so hard. It's more like a participation trophy, I feel like. They're just going to hand out these little helmets. I don't know. I think they're so soft, and it bothers me. I hate that. I hate that program, man.
Whatever culture they're trying to build there is what Oklahoma had the last 5 years with Lincoln, which, according to Ethan Downs, was very transactional. It was if you win, you're cool with us. If we don't win, we'll figure out what it's going to be later on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whatever it takes to win, basically, is what's going to happen. And I don't know. I mean, they're going to win, but I don't think they're going to be winning at all. So
he's also pretty good at choking away huge leads in a playoff game. The year we should have won a national title. Win at whatever cost, and then he screws himself. He screws the team by being an idiot in the second half against Georgia.
Let's get back to where we're going. Anyway, it's going to be something to watch. You never know. Hall, there might be more to this story where Hall, it wasn't really that big of a deal. Saban can basically do whatever he wants, and because he can replace you with another 4 or 5 star no matter what. And maybe Venables will take him. It's going to be something to watch. I'd imagine he's probably going to wait till after the spring game, after all the spring games happen, because I'd imagine some guys will hit the transfer portal and he might size up some depth at the various schools that he's interested in.
I thought I saw somewhere that they have some sort of deadline for transfer portal. I remember May 1st being a date to watch for that.
Yeah, that would make sense. I just, with OU being the 23rd and some spring games being earlier, mid-April, I wonder if he's going to push that deadline. So
Yeah.
I don't know, something to watch. Talented kid. It's going to be, hopefully we get him. I'd be happy, but if he doesn't fit the culture, then it's fine. Speaking of a recent transfer, Brandon Campbell, OU was pushing for him. He's a USC running back. He ended up announcing his transfer to Houston after their freshman running back, Alton McCaskill, tore his ACL in a Friday night scrimmage last week. So Campbell, the Sooners are out on him. So I was talking about that there's a chance that if Campbell came, they're only going to take one running back, and that would most likely be Wisner. Well, Campbell's gone. He's going to Houston. So it takes us back to Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards from Derby, Kansas, 5'9", 165-pound kid, 2023 3-star running back. Basically I look at him as a Deuce Vaughn 2.0. 2 years of starting, 414 carries, 4,436 yards, and 63 touchdowns. And this kid is a 3-star. And he also caught 24 catches for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns. So the kid in 2 seasons has scored a total of 66 touchdowns and a little over 4,700 total yards of offense, which is absolutely insane at any level, varsity level of football. I look at him as a Deuce Vaughn. He's a smaller kid. He might not even be quite 5'9", might be closer to 5'8". He's supposed to potentially be taking a visit to OU this weekend. He has at least an invite. Whether he goes or not, I don't know. It seems like it's going to be coming down to OU and Kansas State and maybe 1 or 2 other schools for his recruitment. But I still feel like OU leads. I know he ended up going to Arkansas and canceling on a recent visit when Richard Young came. But with Campbell being out, I think OU is going to be taking 2 running backs in this 2023 class. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see it. And Dylan Edwards, as you mentioned, and you're putting up those numbers over 2-year span, no matter what level you're playing at, is ridiculous. And obviously, my favorite stat is yards per carry, and I think he averaged 12 yards per carry last year, which is in itself ridiculous. And he touched the ball 208 times, or as far as rushing goes, because that's not counting his receptions. But to get 208 carries and still average 12 yards a carry is. It's absurd. And I do tend to agree that Oklahoma is in the lead despite that Arkansas visit. Kansas Gatorade Play of the Year. I think the Deuce Vaughn comparison is fair just because of the size, stature, the way that they're very dual threat. I think a Darren Sproles is another fair one. Pretty much any small Kansas State running back is similar to what Dylan Edwards is. What he looks like on tape, at least. And I do think Oklahoma's in the lead. I think he'd be a fun piece to have on that offense.
Yeah, Dylan Edwards' recruitment at this point is it's a little bit of a roller coaster, and I don't think it's as big as like a Chris McClellan from last year, but it's definitely one that's had its ups and downs, and it's pretty early in his recruitment right now. So definitely going to be one to watch. I think I agree with both of you when you're talking about his stats. I mean, he's definitely a very good player and a guy that adds versatility. Probably going to be I'm not sure if he does a lot of special teams play and if he's good at punt returning and kick returning, but probably someone that wherever he goes, definitely something that teams are going to ask him to do, or at least attempt to do with the speed that he has. But OU, I think we've talked about Wisner, and Brum, you led off with it. He seems like we're in pretty good position to get his commitment soon enough. But we are recruiting other running backs. I mean, Richard Young is obviously the best one in regards to rating that we are recruiting. Not sure how good the odds of us getting him, but if we start recruiting him harder and put a lot of the team and DeMarco put a lot of attention to him, then Dylan might be someone that we're going to end up seeing at Kansas State to follow up the Deuce Vaughn and Darren Sproles of the world.
Yeah, and a little nugget on him, and I can't take credit for this, but I just read it. Edwards' dad played at Kansas State while Venables and Bob Stoops was on the coaching staff. So he has connections to K-State, but he has connections to the current OU coaching staff. So something to see. I would be extremely happy to get him because, wow, Deuce Vaughn is the biggest thorn in OU's side for the last couple years that he's been playing. There's always someone from Kansas State that has been a problem for OU in the last 5 years. So getting a kid that's just like Dylan Edwards or just like Deuce Vaughn would be really nice. So the last guy we're going to talk about is someone we haven't talked about before, Sammy Brown, 6'2", 215-pound running back from Jefferson, Georgia. Another kid from the Peach State that OU is locked in on, 2024 5-star, number 6 overall, number 1 linebacker in the class. And he also plays running back for his high school. As a sophomore, he had 58 carries, 753 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And on defense, playing middle linebacker, he had 35 total tackles and 3 tackles for loss. Kind of a good comparison as far as the size. And remember, he just finished his sophomore year, going into his junior year, is a little bit of a Jaron Kanik. So for reference, Jaron Kanik ran a 10.37 as his personal best on the 100-meter dash. Brown ran a 10.92. Another one, Kanik ran a 22.06 for the 200, and Brown ran a 22.55 for the 200. For the 400, Brown ran a 50.50, and Kanik ran a 51.90. So, Brown won as a freshman the 400-meter dash in the state of Georgia. I think there's a lot of similarities between these two because Kanik played on the offense as well, quarterback, last year. And then you've got Brown playing running back on his team as a sophomore. He's slated to visit OU this weekend unofficially. He was one of the first offers that OU's gave whenever Venables took over. Number 1 linebacker in the class. It's huge to get him on campus. It's where we're gonna know where OU stands after this visit if he tries to line up another visit shortly thereafter, maybe coming for the spring game, but that might be a little quick, maybe more for the Champion barbecue. Jose, what do you think about Sammy and just the implications of this?
Yeah, he's starting to get a lot more attention from high school, like recruiting, people that cover high school recruiting, like Wilt Fong. I saw a few videos of him over this last week before we even offered him, I think. And it was him like squatting a ton of weight, and he made it look super easy. And like you said, he's only 16, or he's going into junior year, so he's probably around 16 years old. So still very young, still a lot of development there. And I think Jaron Kanik, in just regards to a recent Sooner, is definitely the best comp because of how athletic they are and how just freak athletes really at such a young age. So definitely going to be one to watch out for. I don't know how likely it is that we land him because we are going into Georgia's territory. Alabama seems to always have pretty good leads on these top recruits because they're constantly winning. So it's hard to not want to go to the most winning program in recent history, probably. So we'll see. But I think, Venables will end up at least putting those schools to worry just for his commitment when it all is said and done.
Yeah, obviously very freaky athletic. That's the way we describe a lot of these kids that we're recruiting now. They are. You mentioned that speed and that size. I did when crunch the numbers. He's close to 13 yards a carry, which again I love that. That's stupid. Like that's ridiculous. And then adding that starting at linebacker too. So like he's just. Obviously he's pretty damn good at playing football. Is he a kid that we're for sure recruiting as a running back, or does he get recruited at linebacker? Does he get recruited at either?
Linebacker
for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sign me up. I'm intrigued. That linebacker room it could be so good. And that D line, that front 7 by 2024 can just be absurd.
Yeah. 2024 is going to be the class where you're going to see the full effects of Venables and his staff, the full fruits of their labor. You're going to see. Not that the 23 class won't be good, because it will, but I think 24 is lining up to be one of the best yet. Just a ridiculous prospect. The kid could end up being 6'3", 6'4" by the time he's growing. He's 16 years old. So, but anyway, that's all I've got. Do you guys have any final thoughts? If not, Brandon, do you want to do your end of video challenge with your Boise lunch sign in the background?
I mean, I'm ready for the end of video challenge. Yeah. So you guys don't know this who watched it, but we have a buddy, a mutual friend between all of us who he's a truck driver now. Like that's what he does. He's traveling all over the place, having a good time. So I got a call this morning. He's in Seattle, or he'll be in Seattle Friday. And he asked me if I wanted to meet him and just ride back with him, I guess. So I'm actually going to meet him in Boise, Idaho at about 12:30 on Saturday afternoon. We're going to spend a couple hours in Boise. If you guys have been to Boise, Idaho, I'm looking for the good lunch spots, the good, I'm probably not going to be driving very much. So like, I guess the good bar and grills. Where do I need to go in Boise to have a good time for a couple hours? Comment your Boise hotspots, and I will be there.
The Boise, Idaho hotspots. Yeah, I know. Every time I think of Boise, I just think of Kellen Moore and the Statue of Liberty. But it is what it is. And let them know. Comment below where the Boise hotspots are. If you haven't been there, just go on to TripAdvisor, find one, and just say, "Hey, man, I've been here."
Or instead of lying, just simply say, "I haven't been to Boise," and that will count as your end of video challenge. I am curious to see how many people have actually been to Boise, Idaho.
I like the TripAdvisor idea better.
I feel like I don't know, because I feel like there was one of those times I asked people about Montana or Wyoming or something, and we had a couple of Wyoming people in the comments there. So you never know.
Because we were going to road trip to Seattle if Connerly committed to the Sooners, which
we're going to be. Bullet. Two Plane Sports is worldwide soon, boys. It's definitely nationwide soon. It may already be nationwide. Comment what state you're from too. Start with Boise. Now I want to see it for nationwide. Comment what state you're from, but after you comment about Boise. Actually, that's how we'll do it. If you've been to Boise, Idaho, comment your lunch suggestion or your bar suggestion or whatever, something like that. If you haven't been to Boise, Idaho, comment what state you are from, and that will count as your submission. I don't want any of this bullshit lying that Brum's talking about on TripAdvisor. Just be honest with us.
All right, so let me clarify this. So if you want to enter in for a chance to win some spring game tickets, you have to like the video, subscribe, turn the notification bell, follow us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook, one of the two. And then you need to do Brandon's End of Video Challenge. Put done. Brandon's End of Video Challenge. If you've been to Boise, give him the good lunch spot. Tell him where to go. And if you haven't, just comment where you're from. That's it. And say you haven't been to Boise before. It's going to be interesting to see how many people have been to Boise. I know I haven't.
I'm super excited to see how many people have been to Boise, Idaho. I might just not come back, boys. I might just bring the computer and do it from Boise and come back for game days only.
Sounds good. So we'll catch you guys Friday, and probably another recruiting video will be coming up to preview this weekend and any other breaking news that comes out. Catch you next time.